What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Beyond the Coach podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kelsey Nanini,
And I am Chris Sweet.
and we're gonna chit chat today. We're just gonna get into it. I think, just dive in. We've had a lot come up of, we talk a lot about performance at Apex,
Hmm.
and I think oftentimes people really, really struggle in differentiating between, and maybe not even differentiating, but how to reach performance goals versus physique goals. And even like the nutrition piece of that as well. And so we really just wanted to like break down what you should be doing to achieve either. It's not to say that either can't happen simultaneously. It also just depends on what the specific physique goal is or performance goal is. So why don't we just like break that down and hopefully reduce any confusion as well
Heck
today.
yeah. All the
Um,
clarity.
yeah, all the clarity. Hopefully, like just put it all out there. So I guess the first thing in doing this is to like clarify what your goal is. Like, what do you have a performance goal? Do you have a physique goal? And what is more important to you? Um,
Yeah.
and going from there. So like, mm, how do I want to preface this? But like if you have a differentiated, okay, performance goals. We can have multiple different performance goals, right? We can have, let's say you want to do a high rocks. High rocks is like all the hype right now.
Hmm.
It's fun, for sure, but it's gaining popularity quick. Like it happened
Yeah.
quick.
It's insane how quick.
Yeah. I remember I actually had a coach. We saw a coach post this that they had a client like pull out of High Rocks because they were just experiencing like really, really bad recovery and lack of energy and all this. But it just so happened that the client was also in a deficit. And I think that's like part of the biggest thing to like nail home in this podcast is if you have specific performance goals, 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't be in a deficit. Um,
Hmm.
it is different if you're like doing like a fight or like you have to make weight for like powerlifting, Olympic lifting, whatever it may be. But you should reach those goals first and choose your weight class and then focus on the performance piece of it and how you can maintain said weight.
Yeah.
Um, because it becomes very dangerous when you are in a deficit and you're also trying to train for something that requires a lot of energy. Um,
100%.
so yeah, that's the first piece. Please don't be in a deficit. Deficits are, and that's where you like have to differentiate it, right? Like a deficit is to lose body fat. If you have performance goals, my 2 cents is that you shouldn't be focused on physique goals specifically if you have a specific performance goal. Physique comes like whichever one has to come first, the chicken or the egg. Um, it's like determining, okay, I have this goal. I want to do high rocks. If your physique isn't exactly where you want it to be, just start training for high rocks and also giving your body the fuel it needs. If after high rocks, you're like, okay, now I want to lose some body fat, cool. Now could be the time where maybe it is time to enter a deficit because you've been at or above maintenance, fueling for that specific sport. Because oftentimes it comes with like, that comes with cardio and lifting, getting stronger, and you simply just can't be in a deficit with that. Same thing with um, running, being in doing a half marathon or a marathon. Like your body needs to be at or above maintenance, and your maintenance has increased now because you're pursuing more activity. Like you are burning more calories as a result of running. Your maintenance has now gone up because your energy expenditure has gone up. And that's like a big thing you have to adjust when you're training for something as well.
Yeah. My thought too, when you were saying that as well, is like with choosing one or the other in the beginning, it's like you've likely been, for people who have like physique goals and then performance goals as well, you've likely been trying to chase the physique goals for longer than you've been trying to chase the performance goals,
Yeah.
which is the very reason you should choose usually the performance over the physique. Like if you have been continuously putting your body or continuously every year chasing what can feel like the same goal in a way, it's mentally exhausting. It can sometimes just lead to patterns of behavior that are hard to, get over. And focusing on the performance goal is going to help your mindset so much because it's going to remove a lot of the pressure you have had over the physique goals. And to your point, give yourself the break that your body likely needs to just focus on something else, put your body in an optimal place for recovery and for maintenance. And all of that work that you're doing for performance is going to help significantly when it does come to that next time you go into a deficit. You're going to understand what I call like the toolbox, so much more of like what your body is capable of that actually will help you in your next physique goal that you have. But if you've just been continuously chasing it, it's definitely something where I would say like, hey, why don't we switch it up and do something different and see this as a way to actually catapult your body into the goal that you have long term.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think a lot of people also just feel like a physique goal is all there is to have. Like, oh, I want to grow my glutes. I want to have capped shoulders. I want to have a wider back. Like, I want to just, whatever the goal may be, right? Like, we just think, like, oh, or it's oftentimes it's not even just that. It's just like, I want to lose body weight. I want to lose body fat. Like, and it's constantly, like you said, a constant pursuit of that. When in reality, it's like, that's not the only goal there is. And I think as an adult, it can also be super hard, especially if you were someone who grew up in sports, like constantly playing different sports. And you're always right. You're like, maybe that's not necessarily goals, but you're just so hyper fixated on being active that we often forget there's other things out there at that time. And then you become an adult, you maybe gain weight as a product of that. And like, well, now I want to lose weight and be that string bean that I was when I played sports. And it can be hard to be like, well, now I'm an adult, there's nothing to compete in.
Yeah.
There's so much you can compete in as an adult. And it doesn't have to be to like take first place, but it could just be to have a goal to reach. And I actually found I've not having a physique goal for now, let me be clear, I probably will next year. But like not having had a specific physique goal to reach in the past, I would say like 2+ years and just focusing on performance and how I feel, I've never felt better in my body because I've stopped chasing what my body should look like and I've started chasing what it's actually capable of. And that's been a really cool thing to experience.
Yeah. No, definitely. People don't give their bodies enough time out of the deficit and going into goals as well when we're looking at even healing protocols for someone in the functional health realm. It's like you cannot heal in a deficit. Like people glorify the deficit and they glorify the physique that comes with it, but what about all the ripple effect that can come from that when it comes to internal health and also externally speaking as well? It's not always going to be like rainbows and butterflies. And so I think really taking the time to understand like, where is your mindset at? What do you want ultimately at the end of the day? And also, I will 100% play devil's advocate where it's like there are some people that need to go into a fat loss phase first. There are definitely people who, from a health perspective, need to go into a deficit and drop some weight. Like you were saying too, I mean, when it comes to performance specifically, like powerlifting, I've seen so many occurrences there where athletes have had to go into a deficit to drop weight to be in their weight class. There's ways to be strategic about that and smart about it, but also to the point of like general health, there are definitely people who need to go into a deficit first and can't just immediately go into the performance. And I think a lot of the times where I see in the functional health realm, bringing that back into the place is I have a lot of clients who, want to, or I've seen a lot of clients as well, where they're like, I want to lose weight or I want to do this or I want to do this, but I also want to heal my body, but I also want to do this. And I've had to have some really hard conversations with clients where it's like, what is the priority? Especially my clients with performance goals. Like, what is the priority right now? Because when we are in a healing protocol, we're stripping a lot of things back. You're not in the physique phase that you want to be in. You're not in the performance phase you want to be in usually. You are in a very specific phase. And sometimes you have to recognize that you're making the choice to do one or the other. Like you're making the choice to not be in the healing phase that maybe your body needs to be in for long-term support and long-term change as well for both physique and performance. And it's hard for some people to, from a mindset perspective, sit back and see that like, hey, if I just allow myself to be really uncomfortable for like even 6 months, it's actually going to make me more comfortable long term versus where I'm at right now from like a functional health perspective. And that's obviously coming from me right now in a functional protocol. It's so much easier said than done, but it's like, do you continuously burn your body into the ground with the goals that you have and notice all these issues that are coming up? Or do you take the time to like be uncomfortable in a phase that then allows you to have that performance or physique goal that comes into play? So there's so many different avenues that go into it, but I think with the proper guidance, and sometimes you need to have another external person, like, AKA a coach in this case, who can kind of zoom out and be like, hey, dude, I don't think you're ready for this. Like, I think that this would be more productive because we're looking at the long-term picture. We're not just looking at like the instant gratification of like a short-term picture. Sure, I'd love to put a lot of clients into a 12, 16-week cut and give them what they want. But I also know as a coach, that's not always going to be the outcome that they're thinking it's going to be. So sometimes it's supporting your clients in that and just being really honest as an authority figure goes.
Yeah, I think of a really good example of what you had just gone through. It's like you sometimes have to go through a healing protocol first. And I had a client come to me, and this is like one of my favorite things for clients to say. She's like, Kelsey, I literally, in all caps, she's like, I want to be a unit. She's like, I want to be like a beast. I want to be athletic. I want to move better. And she's a mom of two young kids. She's a military spouse. They're in the midst of also moving out of the country for the military. She's been nonstop go, go, go for the past 3 years, running her own business, all the things, right? Like that's such a compounded effect on stress levels. And she's going through metabolic protocols with us right now because her stress levels just became too much. A couple months ago, she came to me. She's like, I feel like my blood sugar is really like drastically dropping or it's spiking. My heart rate's doing weird things. And this is all kind of coming up all of a sudden. And we're like, okay, well, we realized like a lot of her compounded stress over time has just built up. And at the time we were focusing on her becoming a unit, becoming more athletic and training harder. And at first it was working very well. Then we realized we had to strip all that back. And she went from training 5 days a week to now doing 2 to 3 days of like very low intensity stuff to heal her body internally first, to then have these goals to then be a unit, right? Like I love clients that have physique goals, and we do attract a lot of clients, or not physique, sorry. Well, I do love when clients have physique goals. Performance goals though, I love when they're like, I want to just be athletic, like I want to train hard. You want to feel that, especially as someone who's always been an athlete and you have that identity. But at some point, your body is just going to keep fighting you. And it's like you have two options. Like we heal your body internally so that we can like level up externally, but you sometimes have to do that first, and that's the hard part. And so it is definitely, as a coach as well, like you said, having that external person, because without me, I'm not trying to hype myself up, but without me, that client probably would, she's a coach, probably would have gone on and been like, I'm just going to go try to like reach these goals, these performance goals on my own, because I know I can, like I know what I am capable of. But having that person take a step back and be like, hey, like that's just, you're going to keep running your body into the ground. And feeling like that, like almost sense of brokenness is really, really tough in that sense. So it definitely does depend. Like while we would love to sit here and be like, performance goals all day, you're going to feel so much better. There's also the other side of the coin where it's like, if your body is fighting you, there's other things that we have to take care of first before we can then like improve your performance, or even to the other point, improve your physique. Sometimes there is like the element of both, that we have to heal things internally before we can focus on either or. Cool.
Yeah. I love both. I mean, I certainly, again, I love a performance client. I have clients on my roster right now that have just been with me for years. And it's like, we've just worked on strength, even in the gym. Like you don't even have to be in a competition for something. It genuinely is becoming a unit just in your own space, your own sphere, your own like comfort zone of the gym. And that's the fun part. But I equally love when clients get to transform on the outside, because nothing makes me happier actually when you look at a client's, progress photos side by side, right? In the first photo, you could just see a difference. Like the first photo, they're kind of like dull, like they're kind of just, like a cloud, like just like a little gray cloud. And then you look at the other photo, like a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long clients are working with you. And I just love looking at truly how they glow. Like they look happier, they look healthier, They are taking care of themselves, but it's not a progress photo that you look at and you just look at, oh, they became their smallest self.
Yeah.
They not only, yes, got smaller, right? Or physique or whatever, not even sometimes smaller. I mean, I have some clients who literally are the same weight after us going through periodization, but they just look fitter. They look more aesthetically how they want to look on the obviously after photo. But you also look at the strength that they have gained. Like behind our progress photos that we have with clients, it's not just, oh, they became super small. It's, oh, they like actually really worked on themselves in the gym. Like they went and they wanted to learn how to do chin ups and push ups and
Mm.
run races if they wanted to run, or at least get comfortable under the barbell. Like it wasn't just the outcome of decreasing food, it was the outcome of everything else that we worked on with clients. When it also comes to their habits. So, choosing can be the hardest part when you first start with a coach, or for our coaches who are listening, even choosing for clients sometimes what is the best can be a really hard decision to make. But it truly is, to your point, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Sometimes there's no wrong answer in it. Some cases, 100%, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, yeah, this person needs to go into a fat loss phase first before we go into performance. Or, oh, this client needs to go into healing protocol for functional health first before we can go into performance or physique. And there's all these different formulas that you can put together that at the end of the day will create an outcome. But obviously it's also on the person who's doing that and being given the protocols to follow through on that. It's a huge mindset fuck when you obviously are told, hey, you're not going to go into a fat loss phase, we're going to do this instead, or you're not in the optimal place to do it. But it's not out of a coach or a person not wanting you to achieve your goals. It's actually out of them wanting you to achieve your goals and then some. Like do it better than you could right now. And that's trusting the process that can be the world of physique versus performance. Social media, I wanted to touch on too. We always talk on social media. It's so hard, and I get it. Like you go on social media and you see these ripped people doing high rocks and doing their marathons and doing all these things. And in someone's mind, they think, I need to go into a fat loss phase. And by training for these things in a fat loss phase, I'm going to look like that person. Like that's how their brains work. They think I'm going to look like the shredded girl who's doing the high rocks because she did a high rocks and because she probably was eating less or whatever it may be. And that's not the case. Usually the people who you see who are really shredded, one, have been working on their physique for years, typically. Genetics is definitely also another thing. Some people are just, especially people who came from athletics growing up, genetically speaking, their body's going to already have muscle mass on them where it's a little bit easier for them to make those changes. But a lot of times the people that you are comparing yourself to didn't have the same situation as you or have been on a longer journey than you have. And they've also had to make those decisions for themselves of when do you rest, when do you push, when do you do this goal or that goal or whatever. But at the end of the day, they all compound together into what you want. But sometimes they're going to be a different order than what you initially think they're going to be.
For sure, yeah. I think it's, at the end of the day, it's determining what's most important. Should you be in a place where you're ready to go in, like, you're ready to either focus on physique or performance goals, you have to ask yourself what's most important. I have another coach on my roster who, she came to me and she was really uncomfortable in her body. She just, like, kind of felt almost like an imposter in the coaching
Mm-hmm.
world at times, and was struggling to get clients, and she's struggling to show up on social media because she wasn't super comfortable. And so what we did, like, I was like, she was like, I also want to get into like Olympic lifting. Like I want to like get back into lifting heavier, but also the Olympic side of cleans and snatches and wanting to explore that arena. And I was like, cool, like we can definitely do that. So we started her off in maintenance and did start training some of that,
Mm-hmm.
but she kept getting just super uncomfortable with her body, and she's like, I just feel like it's fighting me. And so I was like, cool, like deficit then, like that's what you want fat loss. And so it's okay to change partial part of the way through. And now we are in a deficit and we are doing some like dumbbell work in terms of some like Olympic lifting. But I had a conversation with her like, hey, you haven't been Olympic lifting. And even though we did like a phase of it, it's not necessarily safe to, in a deficit, continue to train hard like that. Can we do the movement patterns? Absolutely. But I'd rather have you be fueled and recovering well when we are introducing in new movement patterns versus doing that in a deficit. It's not to say you can't do both at the same time, but if you're not as experienced doing them, it can just be more dangerous. And so she's now showing up way better on social media. She's like just feels, she's like, I just feel so much different than I had in years. And like, I feel like I'm not an imposter. You see her photos changing, like her face just in photos, her body language. I'm always someone in photos where when someone gets like, you can start to see their quads more. I like get freaking pumped. I'm a quad girl. I know the glutes is what everyone wants, but like when you see a quad pump,
I'm like I'm a delt girl. Like if I see
adult
some
too.
delts pop in,
Adults.
I won't, my one client who I sent you a picture of, I was like,
Dude,
this girl,
her delts are
insane.
juicy.
I was like,
Juicy.
if you show me, I'm like, something about the arms. Honestly, just something about the arms
Literally.
really gets me going.
Totally agree. Yeah, and it's just, I feel like I'm just using a lot of case studies on this podcast, but like another one who wanted to do high rocks. Now that we're going back to high rocks, she was like signed up to do high rocks, but she just had a lot of health issues come up, and it wasn't the right time. And I was like, hey, here's the thing: you may not be able to do high rocks in October and end of September, but there's always going to be a high rocks. Like there's always going to be an opportunity to train
Yep.
for something. It doesn't have to be right now. And like you always say, our functional team always says, like, it's not a for now it's not a forever protocol, it's a for now protocol. It's like
Mhm.
when we take care of the things we need to take care of now and get your body in an optimal place, one, you're going to perform probably a lot better when you're actually in a spot to do so and your body's not fighting you, but it's also going to just be better in the long term to heal first, and then focus on that versus continuing to dig yourself a deeper hole just at the mercy of doing something right now because it's super popular and hot to do right now.
Yeah. No. And I mean, I can personally, my journey has certainly not been a conventional journey that I would have wanted it to be. I mean, in 2022, I was training for powerlifting. That was like the whole thing I wanted to get into. I wanted to do a powerlifting competition and then blew out my back, which was less than ideal, obviously, but I had to then take a step back. Could I have continued to try to push my body like some athletes do through injury? Sure. Like I definitely could have, but I also knew that long term speaking, I wasn't willing to pay the price of what can come from the significance of those injuries. And I, needed to take a step back. And I think since 2022, it's definitely been a weird, like, I want performance goals, but my body is just not in the place to have the performance goal. Literally, I told you I was reached out to by a brand that I work with, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do High Rocks? Like, we'll sponsor you through it and get you the ticket." And I was like, "I would love to, but I'm not there."
Mm-hmm.
Could I have said yes? Probably. Like I could have said yes and been like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go push my body for the next 2-3 months, like to the max, to go be ready for that." But I know I'm not in the optimal place to do it. And that's the hardest part is when you do wish you could be there. You're like, I wish I could say yes to this opportunity. I wish I could do this. And while, yes, maybe your body is capable to a degree of doing it, what is the long term expense that you are going to pay for sometimes those little short term moments in, our entire lives that we're going to have? And it's so hard. Like, I can just really come from that angle personally of just how hard it is when you want to have goals. And like for me, I started the year being like, it's going to be my year. I'm going to go into a cut. It's going to be great. I wanted to focus on physique first because I just wanted to put my body in a better place coming off of really stressful last couple years that I had. And also my health, my back was finally healing. I was like, okay, I'm going to put my physique first and then I'll focus on my performance, especially because I didn't want to get into super heavy lifts right out the gate. So I was like, going into a physique goal is going to help me. And then that didn't go to plan, went to Mexico, life just did a 180, like things happened. And now I'm in a healing protocol because things came to the surface and I could have continued to ignore that. I could have tried to go back into a deficit, but for what cost? To what? Feel
Mm-hmm.
a momentary glimpse of like, ooh, I feel, smaller and fitter and more toned, whatever it may be. But then having all these underlying issues, your body is constantly communicating to you. So, of all the people that you just talked about, and some of my clients and myself, it's like we just see these signals from the body, and you get to make a choice with what the signal is from your body. And the beautiful thing of having a coach is they're going to be able to identify those signals
Yeah.
sometimes better than you because I always say coaches come from the logical side and you'll always come from the emotional side. You're going to have the emotion that is, I'm living in my body, I'm uncomfortable in my body, or I have this really big goal and that excites me. And like I have a lot of emotion tied to it and almost like my ego tied to it that I want to do it. And the coach is going to zoom out and say, hey, I hear you and I want that for you. And I'm going to get you in the position to do that. But it's likely going to take a little bit of a different timeline and route than what you maybe would have wanted it to be initially. And that's where I'm thankful to even just have a coach myself. Like just going through everything I went through this year, it definitely has been helpful to identify and categorize and organize my goals, especially because next year is the year that I'm going to focus on performance more than anything. So I'm excited for it, but it's doing the thing you don't really want to do in order to get access to the thing you want long term.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned High Rocks, and I was joking the other day, like brought back up our conversation of like the Phoenix High Rocks. Like, of course, the High Rocks that's in my freaking town. I was like, oh, if it's in like April, I'm so in. Like, yeah, I'll do it. It's end of January, and I was like, could I do it? Probably. Like, I probably could if I was training up until like giving birth. Yes, but I will be, if all goes to plan, 8 weeks postpartum. Like, it's not the right time. And I think a lot of people can get FOMO when they're like, I can't do something right now. But I think also taking a lens out and, like you said, the emotional versus the logical side can be super tough. And that's where having a coach can come in. But when you're thinking and having the right coach come in also, and one that will have integrity even when you are bothering them. And this goes for coaches listening to this too. If you have clients that are like this, you're gonna have clients push back. You are the professional at the end of the day, and you are going to have clients push back on when you tell them no to something they want to do.
Mhm.
But we always have our clients' better interests in mind, best interest in mind, really. And I wanted to talk about just like the dangers of training through something, specifically going to performance goals, training through something while you're in a deficit. And deficits can mean all different things, right? You could be in a 100 calorie deficit, you could be in a 300 calorie deficit, you could be in a 1,000 calorie deficit. I hope not, but you could be. And so taking a lens, like a zoom out, there's so many different things to consider. The first would be like you're going to be severely under recovered. Soreness isn't always a bad thing, but when you're constantly sore, there's a lot of different like dangers in terms of that. The thing that really comes up though, and I posted this on Threads and people hated me for it, which is sick, but it's the truth. When you're in a deficit, you're not fueling your body with all of the nutrients and calories that it needs. And so let's say you're training for a high rock, since we're just talking about that today. You're lifting, but you're also running. You're burning more than you do normally on average. And so let's say you're eating 1,600 calories and your estimated maintenance is 2,300. While training for a high rocks, it's a very real possibility that that is your maintenance. Um, and now you're eating in a 700 calorie deficit. Well, the thing is, even if you're having high protein, let's say you're having 150 grams of protein, that means, let's assume you're having like 60 grams of fat and 160 grams of carbs. I don't even know if that's the proper math, but let's just say that it is. The carbs and fats are obviously supposed to be utilized for energy, but now what's happening is you're burning through so much energy, especially like you're utilizing so much glycogen for your energy, which is directly tied to specifically carbs, but also could be fats. Now it turns out to be protein as well, because what's happening is you aren't consuming enough carbs and fats to make up for the amount of calories you're burning in a day, that now your body has to pull from protein to have energy. Like, it has to. There's no other, you don't have glycogen stores anymore because you're burning through all of them and you're not replenishing them. That now your body is taking from protein. So what's supposed to be recovering you, what's supposed to be building back up your tissue, like your muscles, and then also just your connective tissue in general, what's supposed to be saving those things and protecting your organs as well, is not. It's actually being used for energy, because that's your body's last ditch effort to just be surviving. And that's like the biggest thing. That's why you're constantly sore. That's why you're probably potentially getting injured, at higher risk for injury at the very least. And you might look flat and feel flat because now your muscles don't literally have no fuel. They're not being built back up. You're just literally tearing muscle fibers and they're not repairing properly because you're not giving your body fuel. So that's like the biggest thing. For women, on a more serious note, cycle loss is a real thing. It happens a lot actually in cross country, and like gymnastics and different sports, that females eat less to be smaller because it's the sport. and they lose their cycle. And it's very, very dangerous to, you may look at it and at first you're like, it's kind of nice. I don't have to bleed. Like, uh, your body is supposed to. Unfortunately, as a woman, that just sucks. It's just part of it though. Like, that's what's supposed to happen. It's not just for like having a baby. It's not just for having a baby. Having a healthy cycle can be related to a lot of different things, and it's very dangerous to lose it. Hormonal health as well. You're going to deal with a whole slew of issues. You see people with like, even going to like the more aggressive side of physique bodybuilding competition, see a lot of women lose their cycle there and then deal with gut and hormone issues for years because they went through those processes. So it's not just a matter of like muscle loss, but it is a matter of a lot of different things that, one, I don't want to be injured, and you're literally putting yourself away at higher risk of injury by not eating enough food. And the goal in a physique, like in a performance goal, your goal shouldn't be to be losing weight, because losing weight is restrictive, and in performance goals, we can't be restrictive. Like, we need to be fueling your body with enough food to sustain the level of energy you're putting towards. Plus, not even on the danger side, but when you're going for a performance goal, you want to have energy to do the performance goal. Like, nothing is worse than like, oh, I have to go out for a run today and I literally have zero energy. Like, you're feeling that right now with your detox. Like, I've felt it as well. And mostly the first trimester, like, you just don't want to do anything. And when you have a performance goal, you have to do the thing to like get to your goal. And the last thing you want is to not have energy to be able to do it either, on a more simple level.
Yeah, you need to be in like a really optimal place. And you also have to have your mindset in such an optimal place, like to truly carry yourself through it. We just recorded a podcast and you were talking about the marathon, and you were like, we were in Mexico and you ran 8 miles. Like, you did two runs, I think, while we were out there, 2 or 3. Yeah. And it's like, for most people, do they want to go on a run while they're in Mexico on vacation? No. But like, if you have a performance goal, you do. And then while you have that performance goal with whatever life is coming at you with, whether that's travel or events or just crazy life events itself, is fueling yourself through that. Like, you still have to make it a priority. The priority is truly your body and yourself and your safety over anything else. Mm-hmm. It's the advice you would tell a friend of yours. Like, if a friend was going through it, you would say, hey, like, maybe you should, if a friend was coming to you every week and was like, oh, my ankle hurts and now my back hurts and now this hurts and this is and da, 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 but you see your friend equally like barely eating any food, you might be like, hey, have you considered like maybe talking to a coach about this? Have you considered this? Have you considered, maybe looking at like your nutrition and seeing how you can support your body better? It's just hard when you're in the body itself. And I get it. Like, everyone has a different relationship with their body, but it certainly is like, you have to play the long game. Like, it's not about the momentary glimpses of you feeling uncomfortable at times. That's going to happen forever. It's not instant gratification, that's for sure, when you're training towards performance or physique. But you have to look at the long game. And going back to your cycles, it's like, for a woman who does want to try to conceive, right? Maybe they're focusing on performance, but they know in the next couple of years they want to conceive and try to have a baby. It's like, how can you still prioritize your internal health and have the external stuff, but listen to your body if it is giving you those signals? Like, you forget, I think a lot of people forget, like, there's still a life to live 5, 10, 20 years from now. And the decisions you make now are going to be a reflection of genuinely where you'll be. And that comes down to what your choices are now when it comes to performance versus physique. And recognizing that you might go a whole year without focusing on physique. Like, I get it when you see everyone else going through their cuts and bulks and all this stuff. Good for them. That's their goal. But like, what is your goal? What do you want is like the thing you should ask yourself at the end of the day, and stay steady in that. For me right now, it's like, I want to heal. And I actually just had a conversation with my coach about that. We were kind of talking about my goals, and originally, before I started my GI protocol, we were actually going to start ramping up my cardio, because for next year, it's like a lot of hiking and long hauls that I'll be doing. And so we were like, okay, let's start doing like some weighted vest work and some cardio and all this stuff. And then I decided to, I could not ignore anymore how my body was feeling. And that was just the reality of it. And that became my priority. And so now my priority is, well, yes, I have these goals coming up in next year. Timelines. Like, you've got to work with timelines where you can. Now is the best time for me to heal, to give my body these 6 months coming between now and when I will start ramping up my training for stuff, to truly focus on the thing that is certainly not sexy, certainly not fun, certainly not the thing that I I think most people want to do, but the thing that long-term speaking is going to help me 5, 10, 20 years from now. Because if I don't do it now, my body at some point is probably going to demand me even more to do it. And that's the biggest thing. Um, yeah. And I saw a quote, I forget if I said this on the podcast maybe last week, but it was talking about how it was a quote I saw, and it was like, you could have all the problems in the world, but once a health problem comes up, you only have one problem. And it's like, you got to help your body before that becomes the issue.
Yeah. Your body's smart. It's adaptive. And that's the craziest part is like, I talked about the lower energy fuel. Like, could you train in a deficit for something? Absolutely. Like, you could, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like you said, 5, 10 years from now, like you could still be dealing with those issues. It's why we see so many women have so many more intense menopause symptoms, because think of the women going through menopause right now. They, 50s, late 40s, they grew up in the era of South Beach diet and Atkins and Weight Watchers and all these things to constantly from the 80s, 90s on. It was always weight loss focused. It was
Yeah.
never performance focused. It was never gaining muscle. And my mom's going through that. She's like very big into Dr. Mary Hager, I think it is. I think that's her
Mm-hmm.
name. She's a menopause specialist, and my mom is now like all up on the trend of gaining muscle and being stronger. And for years that was never her goal. Growing up, I know it was always to lose weight. She would go to Weight Watchers meetings with my aunt, and she tried all the different diets, and that's obviously another topic for another day, but it's true in that the things you do when you're younger, which sucks, like it sucks to hear that. It's like, oh, well, now I can't enjoy whatever, da 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 da. But it's like, truthfully, the things you hyperfixate on now will affect you later in life. So can you train for those things in a deficit? Absolutely. Am I saying that by doing that, you're automatically going to lose your cycle? You're automatically going to fuck up your hormones for the future? Not necessarily, but you're very much at a higher risk for it. And coming from someone also that, you obviously are going through a gut health protocols. You've also gone through your injuries. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
gone through injuries as well. And every single time outside of the last time I tore my meniscus, it was already like messed up. Every time I'd been in a deficit. And at the time I tore my meniscus in March, I was training for a marathon. I was also playing volleyball every week. I was also lifting. Like I was very active. I could have probably been eating more food. But every time, the first time I tore my knee, I came back from like dieting to lose weight to play volleyball in college. Crazy. Why was I doing that? I could have been stronger, but my coach told me I needed to lose weight. So that's what I did. Lost 20 pounds over the summer. Boom, come back. A month into season, I tore my ACL. The next time I did it, I was about to do a bodybuilding competition, and I completely tore apart my knee in Mexico while on vacation. And so I'm not to say that there's ever like a correlation, but I feel like I took those things and I'm like, that's the common denominator is every time I get injured, I'm in a deficit because my body is doing more than it needs to be. Like I'm doing more and I'm asking my body to do more. And as a result, I'm running my body into the ground. And it's not, there's always a time and place. Performance goals are essentially like working towards performance goal. You're running your body into like you are for a short
Yep.
period of time because you have to. But
Yep.
that should also come with like giving your body enough fuel to recover and to perform well.
Yeah. Well, and I think the topic of periodizing nutrition,
Mhm.
everyone sees, cuts and bulks and maintenance. You see a lot of that information, but the same applies to training. And this is where so many people miss the mark. This is why deloads exist. Like you can't just
Yes.
every single week expect your body to increase weight and
Mhm.
reps and all that stuff. Like as you were saying, the injuries affiliated with a deficit, which I've had a couple for sure affiliated with being in a deficit. Um, it's not by accident. Like it's not like your body just accidentally tore ACL, accidentally tore things, or accidentally was injured. I've had clients where, they have performance goals and I'm like, hey, you've been dealing with these chronic injuries. Like we need to be taking a step back. What do? Their ego gets to them. They go into the gym one day. They're like, oh, I'm feeling good. I'm just going to go PR on all this stuff. And lo and behold, within 24 hours after, they're in pain. And I'm like,
Yep.
that wasn't by accident. And if you are continuously continuing to live a life that got you injured with those same habits, same routines, same everything, you're gonna feel like you are in this chronic revolving door cycle that doesn't feel very productive by any means. For me, I would rather be, and this has come with a lot of maturity in my fitness journey. I want to say that too. Like 22-year-old me could not have been saying what I'm saying today. Like she had an ego of her own that was absurd. But saying this stuff today, like for me, I would rather be building long-term comfort through doing uncomfortable things or the unsexy things. Again, going back to this detox I'm in right now, which we're going to do a whole episode on talking about my detox, but I would rather be in this phase now, knowing it's going to save me from that long-term cycle than to ignore it and continue to just say, oh, well, I feel good today, so I'm just going to go push, or I'm going to go do this, or kind of living life on the edge. That's not exciting. Like you hate to feel like your body is a ticking time bomb. Like you don't want that to be how it feels. That's not how your health should feel long term when you're training for life. So switching that mentality goes such a long way. And all because your mind sometimes or your body will be feeling really good isn't a permission slip to keep going. Like sometimes it's you having to have a barrier. I think about bowling sometimes, when they put the bumpers up, it's like sometimes your ego is like, I don't need the bumpers, I'm fine. Like I'm gonna kill it. It's gonna be great. But deep down, you're like, oh, I kind of suck at bowling. Like I probably should use the bumpers for me to have some help. It's like your body sometimes needs the bumpers, and that's going to be you setting a boundary with yourself when it comes to both performance and physique goals and whatever's coming up for you in that. And it's going to be way better when you do it the right way versus doing it the way that sometimes you think it should be.
And that's where being in tune with your body really does come into play in both of these factors, whether it's performance or physique. Like I was saying, like the body is so smart and it's so adaptive, which is why you see women who have dieted for years struggle to lose weight now because your body has adapted to that lower calorie mark, and it's a real thing. And so when you're thinking about a deficit, like the first thing in a deficit, you should be hungry. Like you should be hungry. If you're not, that's not a normal response. That's actually the body, like a stress response to be hungry all the time, or to not be hungry, to not have any hunger cues. Like people are like, oh, I just don't eat in the morning because I'm not hungry. I'm like, that's not normal. That's not normal at all. And there's so many things I think in society now that have just been normalized and regulated
Yep.
that it's just like, this is supposed to happen. Not being hungry is one of them. Constantly being tired. We live in an age where people just normalize being tired. Oh, I'm just really tired today. I'm like, that's not normal. Like you
Mm-hmm.
should have energy. I haven't in maybe a little bit in first trimester I struggled a little teeny tiny bit, but like for the most part I've been energized and I've felt like doing things. It's not normal to have these things where you're not hungry, you're super tired, you're fatigued, you feel like you're constantly plateauing in the gym. Not normal. And I think when we stop normalizing things that aren't normal, you start to see a lot better results. But your body will always tell you, even constantly feeling like you're stressed, constantly feeling like your body's in fight or flight, that is not your body. You should feel safe in your body. If you're not feeling safe in your body, not normal. To
Yep.
not be hungry, not or to not be like even thirsty or like any of these other things that happen. I think it's so important to not normalize those things and to realize, like, bring to light, like, hey, your body is telling you something at the end of the day. And if you don't listen to it because you don't know, that's where hiring a coach can really come in handy because we can now look at those things and be like, hey, your energy has been really low for the past couple of weeks. And there's just so many different things that we can look at that we keep track of, that are alarming. They sound off the
Mm-hmm.
alarm for us, but for the normal person, it doesn't always. And those things that are what your body are telling you are what can stop you from potentially going into a deficit when you shouldn't, or potentially going into a performance goal when now's not the right time. And we just have to listen to those things and take care of your body first, because you only get one body. Don't get to like repeat your body. And when you treat it like trash, it's going to receive that and also give you trash back. So
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And a lot of people will take that as a sign to keep pushing when their body's kind of treating them like an ass. And it's like, whoa, can we take a step back
don't.
for a second? And like,
Yeah.
have you been treating your body like an ass? Because that might be why it's retaliating back at you and has been
Yep.
fighting you and why you feel so puffy and inflamed. Like,
That too.
there's so many things.
Bloating.
Yes. And I'm
Not
really
normal.
actually excited to talk about my detox because like today is day 9 and I feel actually the best today that I have. Like 2 days ago, I was struggling. Yesterday, I was
I know you
struggling. I
like
was
yesterday.
really,
You messaged me
yesterday,
yesterday.
I was really on like
Or Winston?
I needed help. Like
Falling
I
out of
needed some
bed.
assistance. I needed Kenneth to just do everything for me. But to the point of it, like chronic bloating is not normal, and everyone can normalize it because they can say, oh, well, I had this and da 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 da, and it's just my body, I just ate and whatever, and they continue to again usually eat like trash as well because those things are certainly not helping. But for me, it's like I was dealing with chronic bloating. I still felt like I was doing everything right, but I was also dealing with a lot of nervous system disruption, like a lot of stress and a lot of things that it wasn't actually until I was talking to my therapist and she was like, do you recognize how much you've been through this year? Because and I'm just someone who can just operate through things usually, like
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah.
I definitely have had moments of slowness that I've needed to take, but it's like, probably not as much time of slowness as like a normal person is going to take. And she was like, have you like taken a step back to see that? And it actually hasn't been until recently that I've been really focusing on like my nervous system and boundaries. And like, obviously I'm on this detox. Like I feel like a lot of inflammation has come off and I'm like, wow, that's how it's supposed to feel like when you really like set the boundary. But people don't realize that it's not normal and that you kind of, again, have to do the shit you don't want to do to get to the other side. So I think like the whole premise of the podcast is like you're not always going to be on this perfect trajectory that you want it to be. You can't have the best of both worlds. Like you truly can't. What is that saying where it's like you can't have the cake and eat it too,
Yeah.
or
Can't have your
something
cake
like
and eat it
that?
too.
It's kind of a confusing saying. I'm like, what
It
do you
is a
mean you
confusing saying.
can't
Like, what does
have
that
the
mean?
cake? If I have a cake, I could eat it. In my
If I had a cake, I'm probably gonna eat it.
like I'm probably going to eat the cake, but whatever. It's a saying that's supposed to, I guess, allude to the fact that you can't have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't continuously think that you can have it and then ignore the
Yep.
signs from your body that is telling you otherwise and simply think that that is normal. Like that is not normal. And it usually takes you dropping your ego so significantly to get to the point where you just have to say, and I made a post on this the other day about just like people will say, oh, I'm willing to do anything. Are you willing to not be in a deficit for a whole year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not. A lot of people probably are not. Are you willing to go into this detox? Are you willing to, even from a performance standpoint, are you willing to deload? Are you willing to take a step back to actually help with your performance? And a lot of people simply won't because their mindset is the first thing to get in the way. Their ego is the first thing and they think they know all. And going back to Kelsey's point, that's just truly where a coach comes into play. Like I have certainly loved having a coach, a physical therapist, even like I have a really great physical therapist that I've been working with that has been such a great anchor for me through the last 2 years of injury. So yeah, you just have to find your people and you have to be willing to trust those people, even if they're not saying what you want to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely. All in all, listen to your body. Or if you don't know how to listen to your body, hire a coach to listen to it for you. And yeah, take care of your body.
Yeah, you only get one.
And you only get one. Not to be morbid, but it's true. It's true.
It is true. It is true. And think towards the future you. Think of your long-term goals, not like a year from now, but like 5 years from now. Like the family you want to have or the life you want to live or the travels you want to do or the career you want to have, whatever it may be. I think that helps you zoom out a little bit and create also less of a like crazy timeline. So many people are on this short timeline. I'm like, look at 5 years from now and like make a timeline around honestly 5 years. Like make a longer timeline for yourself than you feeling like you have to achieve your goal in like a year or less because it's just simply not going to work that way. So that is all I have to say. And I hope that you guys have some takeaways from it.
Yep. Yeah, we hope it helped. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.